Hello, I'm going to give you a little brief on pine needle basketry. I've been getting in the mood to want to be a little bit more creative and being out here in the woods. I'm going to show you a little bit on some of the pine needles that I tend to use. I was lucky enough that when I owned 40 acres, we planted longleaf pines down in Florida. Down there, the longleaf pines are a native pine, and it makes these wonderful long pine needles. And when I was I knew I was going to want to do something with them. There's an abundance of this that falls on the ground. The trees really need it. Didn't want to really rake up and do the harvesting of the pine needles. If we did a lot of research on the pines. We found that the pines really kind of need the needles for nourishment. If we were going to do the harvesting, we would do it every other year so that the trees would get a certain amount. And the little bit I get really doesn't hurt them at all, but they're wonderful to work with. They're so wonderful. Here are pine needles that are probably from slash or loblolly, and you can see the difference in the size. What that means is that they're going to end up, you don't have to put as many in when you're adding to your project. You can put them in and they last longer, where the smaller ones you're putting them in a lot more often. So this is a excellent, kind of showing you the scenario. Longleaf pines, they're really very easy to work with. I like them a lot. All pine needles they come into maybe 3 to 4 small individual needles inside of its sheath, which is this cap. When you take the cap off, kind of pop it off, it actually allows you to have the bare ends that you can put in individual. There are some projects with pine needles where the crafters will actually use them in the needling so that they stick out and they kind of can make a decorative look to it. So I tend to like to take them off. I haven't done a project where I have left them on yet, although I'm really getting anxious to give it a try. Just another thing I would like to try doing. I found that this is a nice book. I was looking for something that would help me get some ideas, that would show me more as to how to do this and make some variations, the different stitches. I first learned how to do this when I was at Stephen Foster. They have a lot of crafters there that do different things. The woman that I learned this initially from was called Nancy Gildersleeve, a really great lady. I gave a primarily how you would go about working with the pine needles. And from there, I just kind of expanded on that type of thing. After I gather my pine needles, and you really have to try to get out there before it gets wet, real rain. The dew is always going to be there. If they're left very long, they will get a mold discoloration on them. It's hard not to get that. But if you go out there and you collect, I take them in, and I'm a bit OCD. I like getting everything in one, everything together like this. And then I wash them. I wash them in a kind of warm water, not real hot, not real cold, but kind of just right. I wash them in warm water, and I have a tendency to put some essential oils. For the most part, I'm using cedar essential oil, but you could use rosemary, even lavender. The oils, to me, just a light amount in my sink, and after I wash them with a little bit of light soap, and then I rinse them again, and that warm water will have them nice and soft and pliable. I put my few drops of essential oils in there, maybe 10 drops or so, and then I just kind of let them soak a little bit and kind of whoosh them around, and then I drain them out and I rinse them. I feel that the essential oil helps keep the bugs away. It causes them to last a very long time. And I like the fact that they have a nice smell. They have a nice smell. So when you do a project, you can make them smell like the essential oils that you like. At Stephen Foster, Nancy Gildersleeve had made these nice little kits for people that were interested. She would put enough pine needles in there and raffida in there and some minor instructions so that people could make something from it. Just a little trial. They have to go searching the woods. They can play with it a little bit and learn how to do it. They asked me at one point when they didn't have somebody to teach. They had already taken names and registered people for a class, and that person that was to instruct wasn't able to make it, so they asked me to do it. So I went in, and these little kits were like $12 in the gift shop, and I got them. And then I made a basket. I made a little basket from there and still had some left over, and did different things that really weren't necessary, but I showed them that you can do all kinds of things with pine needle baskets. You can play to how you do the center. I used a cotton threading that I really like to use, and even put a couple of beads on it, showing that it's your imagination. You know, you can do what you'd like to do. And that worked really well for the people in that class. There's a lot of different material that you can use when weaving and threading through for your pine needles and your designs. This is raffida. It is a material from reeding, and it is used a lot. I imagine back in the day it was one of the major threadings that were used. There were also various different grasses, sweetgrass, which is actually a wonderful smell that's used. And so this is just one of many. I tend to not be as partial to this because I have difficult time in making it tight where the raffia just, it can break. So I look for something else so that I can do my various different weavings differently. And I found this cotton threading that you can get in all kinds of colors. I really did enjoy using that. It allowed me to practice, and it stayed nice and firm. You can use different size threadings, color threadings, even when making centers, because for me, the hardest part of starting the basket was doing the center. So I ended up trying to look for other options, and these pinwheels that you can make and do different designs in. Again, I found a book that was very good for this. And I want to say that this is not the only book. You know, if you can go to your library and try to find some. Otherwise, I had gotten this, I think this can be gotten on Amazon. So look to see what you can find. That really gives a lot of primary information. Also is the fake sinew. This is like an animal sinew. It has wax on this threading. So when you have it, it's probably now my favorite material to use. I have been able to use it, and I'll show you how this looks. I've been able to use it to set the threading in very easy. It holds it nice and tight while I'm trying to do this. So this is going to be an oblong dish that I'm going to make. While I have this over here close, this is the needle. And then here is what I hold the pine needles with. This keeps it it keeps that size cording properly that size. There are different size. This is a straw, and you can get different size straws and cut them. And in this case, it's the one I like to use basically. And then as you go along, these kind of came out as I pull, you're sticking your needles into that. And then you just kind of keep adding as it gets looser. When there's tight enough to be in there and hold your and hold it, you can, okay, then you can start doing your sewing again and move this along as you go around your wheel. I also found on Amazon, this is actually, I believe, a leather kit. It has various different colors, sinews in it. This one has kind of a rust color black, the light tan, and even appears to be green or gray. It has the needles in it. And what I like the most is that it comes in a kit. I like having it all in one location. I even found that it has this great thimble besides the leather finger, because as you're pushing on there and it can be tight, it's very sore on your fingers. Well, this is like a ring that is can be open to the size of your finger, and you can put it on the finger that you use the most to push it through. I'd never seen anything like that before. That is absolutely wonderful. So that's another option for tools that you can use. I find that because I have this issue about starting the center, I've done some pottery, and I made a piece of pottery where I put holes in it, and that way I can use this as a center of the bowl or dish or whatever it is I'm making. I made another one where I actually pressed a leaf in there and colored it with the holes and things that I have. So there are all kinds of various different things that you can use. This is a piece of bone that's been cut. This would be a case where, as thick as this is, I would have to look for a thicker type of straw, because you want your cording to be pretty much the same size of what your centerpiece is going to be. Project I'm getting ready to work on now is one that has to do with gourds. I had this gourd, had several gourds that somehow just accidentally came out of some seeds that I happened to have. And one day I saw them growing in the side along my grass area where I knew that there were gourds growing, but I did not realize that this kind of gourd. When I took my Dremel and I cut it, I actually, of course, this is full of seeds, so to scrape the seeds out and try to get as much of that out as possible, I actually took a pottery tool that I have, which is a piece of metal that is kind of rounded, and it helped me scrape and get all of the seeds, the inside material out. I then, after I felt it was nice and as much as I could get out, I sanded the inside the best I could because it does have the materials in there. You can see it's almost like a raised thread to hold all of the seeds in. So I ended up sanding it, not till that it was so fine that, you know, you have some options. I'll show you this close up. After I got it to the point where I liked the way it was smooth enough inside, that I actually ended up varnishing it with a spar, because that is very good at, you know, with material. It doesn't, humidity and stuff doesn't cause it to sweat and get sticky. After I did several coats, enough to where it kind of raised, you can almost see that I have a little bit raised in here, and it dried between each one, dried really well. Then I took a small drill, also could be a Dremel. I measured with a pencil and marked it around and drilled those holes in so that I can start to add my my cording on there, my pine needle cording. I cut the very top, just like a pumpkin, so that's out so that this will sit flat for me. This one is easily will sit flat. So at some point, you're going to see me start working on these projects.